Why they call drama, what is actually real pain in borderline. Marsha Linehan exposes, have you ever stopped to think how a small word can cause such enormous damage? Drama, 5 little letters carrying the weight of an entire society's misunderstanding of another person's pain. When someone whispers, that's just borderline drama, they are not merely judging a behavior, they are dismissing an entire neurobiological reality that affects millions worldwide. Imagine for a moment if your emotions were amplified by a factor of 10. Every disappointment turning into devastation, every joy escalating into overwhelming euphoria. And now imagine having to carry that intensity while facing judgmental stares and words that minimize your experience. Sarah's story makes this clear. At 25, she cried for 3 hours because her best friend cancelled a meeting. Not out of manipulation or whim, but because her brain experienced that cancellation as total abandonment. When she told someone about it, she heard, "Stop being dramatic, Sarah. It's just a cancelled plan." But for the borderline brain, there is no such thing as just a cancelled plan. We live in a society that glorifies emotional coolness and punishes sensitivity. Expressions like control yourself or don't be so dramatic have become weapons against those who feel deeply. What people don't realize is that they are attacking people whose neurobiology simply operates differently, not by choice, but due to a complex interplay of genetics, environment, and development. The word drama carries the weight of falseness, performance, conscious manipulation. Applied to borderline experiences, it becomes a devastating tool of emotional invalidation. It's like telling someone with diabetes that their need for insulin is just diabetic drama. Absurd, isn't it? Then why do we do this when it comes to mental health? Science reveals something fascinating and disturbing about the borderline brain. Imaging studies show the amygdala, the brain's emotional alarm system, is hyperactive in people with BPD. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex, the regulator of emotional responses, shows lower activity. That isn't drama, that's pure neuroscience. When we see someone with BPD having an emotional crisis, we're witnessing a real neurobiological storm. It's as if the brain's alarm system is permanently set to maximum alert. Every emotional stimulus is processed like an existential threat, triggering intense physiological responses that are entirely involuntary. The word dramatic implies performance, something artificially staged to gain attention. But how can it be an act when heart monitors show spikes, cortisol tests reveal extreme stress, and brain scans display unusual activity? Borderline pain has a measurable biological signature. The cruel irony is that the people who most need understanding and validation are exactly the ones who get the most invalidation. It's like refusing to give water to someone dying of thirst while calling their request thirst drama. But we've created a paradox where emotional intensity is punished when it should be welcomed. This stigma doesn't appear by accident. It grows in a culture that prizes control over authenticity, confuses vulnerability with weakness, and turns the genuine expression of suffering into a badge of shame. This prejudice kills hope, relationships, and sometimes human lives. Throughout history, philosophers have tried to decode emotions. Aristotle spoke of balance. But what does balance mean when the very system meant to maintain it is biologically altered? Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. But what if your mind reads neutral events as existential threats? They didn't have MRI scanners to reveal hyperactive amygdalas. Socrates said, the unexamined life is not worth living. Those with BPD examine their lives constantly, often obsessively. The problem is not a lack of self-reflection, but too much analysis with too few tools to process it. Freud introduced the idea of the unconscious and defense mechanisms. Borderline drama through this lens is a desperate attempt by the psyche to express unbearable pain. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the rejected part of ourselves. Good society's discomfort with borderline intensity be its own shadow, an avoidance of its own deep feelings. Heidegger invited us to explore lived experience, being in the world. For someone with BPD, the world is one where every look could be rejection and every silence, abandonment. This is not paranoia, it's how their being processes reality. Sartre described bad faith, denying our responsibility to face reality. Calling borderline feelings drama is society's bad faith, a refusal to take responsibility for understanding. Philosopher Carol Gilligan taught us that morality includes responding appropriately to the needs of the vulnerable. To label borderline intensity as drama is an ethical failure. Wittgenstein warned about the games language plays. The word drama changes the game entirely, shifting suffering into performance, turning need into manipulation. Modern philosophy of mind emphasizes the reality of subjective experience. Thomas Nagel asked, "What is it like to be a bat?" We might ask, what is it like to be borderline? Imagine emotions permanently cranked to maximum volume. Bioethics teaches autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, justice. Labeling borderline feelings as drama violates all four. Existentialism reminds us of our fundamental anxieties: death, freedom, isolation, meaninglessness. For someone with BPD, these anxieties are amplified to terrifying proportions. Fear of abandonment is not drama, it's survival terror. Marsha Linehan's work transformed our understanding of BPD. She explained it as emotional third-degree burns. Every touch hurts. Not character flaw, but emotional biology. Imaging confirms this. Borderlines live with an accelerator stuck and brakes that fail. Cortisol levels show the body acting as if life is a continuous emergency. Childhood trauma wires the brain for hypervigilance, but neuroplasticity means the brain can adapt with the right therapeutic work. DBT helps because it validates experiences while slowly rewiring responses through skill practice. Attachment studies reveal many BPD patients feared and needed their caregivers simultaneously, planting lifelong relationship paradoxes. Alexithymia makes emotions hard to name. Mentalization deficits make other people's intentions harder to read. Emotional memories stay raw and vivid for years. Social cognition research shows faces are more often read as hostile. Impulse control systems are weaker. Identity feels unstable, as if the self was a puzzle with moving pieces. Relationships swing between idealization and devaluation, not on purpose, but because the mind processes in black and white. Self-harm is often an emergency regulation tool, not attention-seeking. Suicide risk is real, not manipulation, but distress beyond available coping. Recovery, however, is common with the right approach. Long-term studies show most patients improve. The real twist: society itself cultivates the very conditions that foster BPD, and then punishes the people shaped by them. We raise children in emotional disconnection, punish genuine feelings, worship productivity over humanity, and immerse everyone in social rejection triggers online. We teach perfectionism and then discard those who fall short. Emotional illiteracy makes support rare and misunderstanding frequent. But here's the truth. If you recognize yourself here, you are not broken. Your feelings are valid, real, and make sense in light of your history and biology. Professional help is never weakness. DBT-trained therapists can teach lasting skills. The goal is not to kill sensitivity, but to thrive with it. Build support networks that accept you fully. Nurture self-care habits, from exercise to art. Even when you don't feel like it, practice what keeps you grounded. Recovery is possible, real, and yours to claim. The world needs deeply feeling people who have learned to carry their intensity with grace. Be patient with yourself and with those still learning to understand you. Your story can educate hearts. Arm yourself with knowledge. The truth simplis mente sets you free.